Coming up on ATV News, Hyde Park locals don't like a new city ordinance, and they aren't afraid to take a stand.
It's a beautiful day here in Logan, but will it stick around? I'll have that and more in your ATV weather report.
And with cold weather comes flu season. We'll tell you how to prepare so you don't get sick.
4 days, 6 wins, and 2 WAC championships. I'll tell you all about it coming up in sports.
It's all coming up on ATV News. Welcome to ATV News. I'm Ryan Humphreys.
And I'm Romina Ndakvich. Tuesday was the last day to cast your vote in the presidential election.
Brianna Bodley spoke with students and local legislators about who they thought was the national favorite and how the final vote might affect you.
It's looking like President Obama is going to have another 4 years.
I have a feeling that Obama's going to win.
Obama's going to win the next election.
I really think Romney's going to win.
With opinions spanning both parties, students gathered with local representatives and election hopefuls in the John M. Huntsman School of Business to predict the presidential race outcome.
I think the Republicans have a candidate that they're able to rally around now.
The Republican Party didn't get behind Mitt Romney fast enough during the primaries.
I think there's a lot more intense voters for Romney than intense voters for Obama.
I think we're going to be up late to find out.
But I think there's a distinct possibility, a realistic possibility that Romney can win this thing.
But in the end,
tonight, more than 200 years after a former colony won the right to determine its own destiny, the task of perfecting our union moves forward.
And local politicians said for them the hours of campaigning were worth it, whether they won or lost.
I really do believe in the two-party system, and I just couldn't see someone winning simply by signing up.
Now that I know I can have a voice out there, I'm trying to say, well, how can we continue this?
You do all you can do. You work as hard as you can. You talk to as many people as you can. You knock on all the doors, and then you wait and you find out, how you did.
Brianna Bodley, ATV News.
General election results have been sorted and recorded. After a heated battle with Governor Romney, President Obama pulled ahead in the popular vote with a slim 2% gap over Romney's 47. The real winning point for President Obama was the 100-vote advantage over Romney's 206 electoral college points. Governor Herbert also won re-election, beating out the next candidate with a 41% gap. Senator Orrin Hatch and Representative Rob Bishop continued the trend, sliding past their challengers with an advantage of more than 30% each.
In local suicides in the same week, both due to hazardous chemicals, but the act by both victims led to cleanup that, although unusual, kept first responders safe. Steve Crass has more.
Fire trucks and police cars had this Logan road completely blocked off Wednesday afternoon.
We had a police officer come knock on the door, and he said I had to evacuate the building.
Residents in this apartment complex were told to gather their things and get out quick.
I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know who was in trouble or where it was in the building because they evacuated everyone out of our building.
It turns out a 26-year-old man had committed suicide by leaving carbon monoxide in his apartment. But what puzzled authorities most was a note the victim left on his door, telling them to watch out for hazardous chemicals inside.
They'd found a note on the door saying that there was chemicals in the house.
Fast forward to Friday night. This time, a 40-year-old man took his own life inside this Smithfield home, again with hazardous chemicals, and again leaving a warning for authorities.
The note was attached to the rear door there in the garage, so anyone making or having access into the home would have been notified.
Authorities say they now know the reason these two men felt the need to provide caution.
He didn't want anybody else hurt.
And that the notes made for an easier cleanup than usual.
It's nice for our crew because crew safety is my #1 priority. I want to make sure that my crew is safe and being alerted to a hazard before we enter that atmosphere.
And while suicide is never good, they're thankful they knew what they were dealing with.
There's a lot of times that we respond to hazardous materials incidents where we're playing the guess game. This time we were able to really speed up our process because we knew there was a hazard present, what the hazard was.
Authorities say they are still trying to determine the reason behind both deaths.
Some make a difference with their votes and others with their signature. Caesar Abbott takes us to Hyde Park, where a group of locals are taking a stand against a law they say just isn't right.
Hyde Park residents cast their votes on Tuesday for the presidential election, but that wasn't the only political matter on many of their minds.
Beers such as this one are not legally sold in Hyde Park. However, because of a recent ordinance that was just passed this last month, it allows the sale of alcohol in local stores.
The referendum is simply to put that ordinance to a vote of the people.
Residents also stopped by this tailgating party that Hyde Park resident Kathy Reck organized for residents to come and sign the official referendum petition. The petition allows residents to vote against the alcohol ordinance.
I believe it was in the beginning of summer. Maverick Corporation came to a Hyde Park City Council meeting and asked Hyde Park City to allow them to sell alcohol at the Maverick here in Hyde Park.
Reg, along with 4 other Hyde Park residents, are sponsoring an official referendum petition requesting a place on the ballot for residents to weigh in on the alcohol ordinance.
We as the citizens of Hyde Park feel that it should be a vote of the people and that we have the right within our city to determine the laws that govern us.
It is now up to Reg and the other sponsors to reach 324 signatures from Hyde Park residents so that the petition can go through.
No, we don't want alcohol sold at all within the city limits.
Caesar Abbott, ATV News.
Rec was given 45 days after the ordinance was passed to submit her petition to the City Council.
The candidates for Utah's Lieutenant Governor were on campus last week for their only debate before yesterday's election. The debate was moderated by Professor Michael Lyons of the Political Science Department, Carrie Bringhurst of Utah Public Radio, and Eric Mickelson, last year's student body president. Lieutenant Governor Greg Bell came out victorious in the election and had this to say during the debate.
We want the state to increase its burden, its contribution toward the expense of university education. We have prioritized. Public education has sustained almost no cut whatsoever. Higher education sustained about a 12% cut. Why? Because Governor Herbert fought diligently. Because of his courage and putting stakes in the ground, we avoided larger cuts to higher education.
Herbert and Bell won the election with over 65% of the vote. Coming up after the break, from waste to water, these USU students are challenging the way we see algae.
USU broke a Guinness World Record last year, but can we do it again?
And challengers stack up in a contest of balance and strength.
Your gas prices just keep going up, but thanks to some USU graduate students, that could change. Emily Landine is outside. Emily, what can you tell us about this project?
That's right, guys. Now this is just your ordinary bottle of tap water, but thanks to some USU graduate students, your lakes and rivers could be just as clean.
Oh, okay.
The way we grow and harvest the algae, it's different from what anyone else is doing.
We can take that problem and turn it into things that are useful.
It's really easy and cheap to extract.
Here at the water treatment plant, the water isn't pretty before or after. While the treatment can take out some of the harmful chemicals, it doesn't do anything to the nitrous phosphorus found in algae. This is where USU comes in.
The idea is to take this, what is originally a waste in the algae that's ending up causing problems downstream of the wastewater treatment plant, and then use that algae to produce a lot of different bioproducts.
It's not a new concept, but the way USU is doing it is unique in itself. They have created large wrappers that pick up the algae in the water.
When it's grown in a biofilm like this, it's very easy to harvest.
Not only have you removed the algae and the nitrogen phosphorus, you have a resource in that algae that you collected.
A resource that can be fermented into E. coli, which can be used in a number of ways.
We're working on some bioplastic and biliverdin, spider silk, and some antifungals and antimicrobials.
Also fuel, which is much needed.
There's less and less ways to get to it. Crude oil reserves are going down. They're finding other sources now, but it's going to end eventually.
And this is just the beginning. There are about 7,000 water treatment plants like this one in the United States, which means as soon as someone decides to buy this technology and apply it on a national scale, it could really take off.
We can see this expanding all across the globe, to tell you the truth.
That's right, guys. And one thing that's really unique about this project is that USU is working with the water treatment plant, which means that while they're mutually beneficial. So USU gets the algae and the water treatment plant gets the cleaner water. So it works well for both. So it's something that's pretty cool. Keep an eye on it. Let's go back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Emily. This eco-friendly project started in 2003 and hasn't given an expiration date. You may see it at work for quite some time.
With the winter season approaching, you might also want to be aware of another season that's coming with it, flu season. Kelsey Keller finds answers to how we as college students can avoid getting sick on test day.
Every year, the flu spreads across college campuses nationwide. Think about it. Hundreds of students are touching the same door handles and same keyboards every day. It's easy to spread germs.
Influenza for most of us is spread by respiratory droplets. So when you think about the Taggart Student Center on a cold winter's day and people are coughing and sneezing into that air on the first floor, you're basically walking through a sea of germs.
Not only are germs spread quickly across college campuses, but many sick students still attend classes.
Today, some girl walked into my class and she's like, "Oh, I threw up this morning." And she walked in and I was like, "Oh, yay, I'm so glad I get to have your germs."
There is a variety of ways to avoid catching the flu. For example, when entering your home, always make sure to take your shoes off and leave them at the front door. This stops germs and dirt from spreading throughout your entire house. Don't set bags or purses on countertops where food is also prepared. The bottom of this backpack is a germ death trap. Also, avoid touching your face, even if you just washed your hands. These are just a few of the small steps you can take to avoid catching the flu. So, what are the big steps?
Basically, good hygiene, good eating habits, and good rest are the most important things to stay well. And when students deviate from that, we start to see them come in with illness.
So keep your hands clean and stay hydrated as flu season quickly approaches. Kelsey Keller, ATV News.
If you are considering getting a flu shot, many places around town give them, including the Student Health and Wellness Center. Just call ahead to make your appointment.
USU is always trying to break world records, and Monday we tried to break a record of the most speed daters at one time. I stopped in to see how we did.
Okay, cool. I've been thinking about that.
Last night, Seed had a fundraiser to try to earn more money for businesses in third world countries. It was only $1 to get in, and there were dozens of raffle prizes from companies around Cache Valley.
We had SC Needham's. They're the ones who got all the restaurant gift cards, as well as these t-shirts. And we also had Papa Murphy's. They gave all the pizzas. And then we also had the flower shop. They had 2 gift cards for flowers.
This year, USU wanted to break another world record, but this time it was for speed dating.
I think it's fun. I've actually ran into a lot of people that I already know, so that's good. But I've also met some new people.
One kid I talked to was awkward, but most people I think were in the same boat as me.
Most of it was pretty natural after the "Hi, my name is such and such."
Yeah, it's been fun. Met lots of new people. I didn't give out my number. I'm sorry. I feel like I either talked to freshmen or I knew them, so it just didn't really make sense.
While the reactions were overall positive, not every seat was filled.
They wanted to beat South Africa's record of 435. We didn't quite make that, but we did get in between 200 and 300, so.
Last year, we broke the record of longest kissing chain ever. We'll have to wait and see what next year has in store.
You don't have to buy a plane ticket for a little taste of India. Lauren Brewer shows you why.
It's my favorite festival.
He's talking about Diwali, the Indian Festival of Light, which was celebrated in the Taggart Student Center Ballroom at Utah State University last Saturday.
Hundreds of people from the local community have come to Diwali tonight
to sample a little bit of Indian culture and food. But for USU Indian students, this festival is more than just performing traditional song and dance. It's a little piece of home, which had some students reminiscing.
I miss home actually because it's completely different the way we celebrate at home. This is the more sober version, if you may.
Comparatively, this was a sober version because, as you can see, there are no firecrackers popping, which Indian students say is common for Diwali celebrations in India. But even without the firecrackers, Indian students say the festival does something very important for them.
Culturally, Diwali is a very sound platform for Indians, especially us, the younger generation, because it's not just the outside world that is unaware of the Indian culture, it's the youngsters in our country too.
Just a sample of Indian culture was sprinkled into Diwali, a little bit of Bollywood here, and some modern Indian dance there. But even just a small amount here in the Diwali festival helps keep the Indian culture alive for students.
If you missed this year's Diwali, don't worry, it'll be back again next year.
When we come back, Kelton Wells will tell you what to expect in the week ahead.
Rain, sunshine, or snow? Find out right after the break.
Have you guys seen all the damage that's been happening from Hurricane Sandy out in New York?
Oh, it's horrible. I've heard over 7 million people are out of power. It's just devastating.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's take a look at a satellite feed right now of Hurricane Sandy. As you can see, it developed in the Caribbean Sea and moved down to Florida and along the coastline. Right here you can see the trajectory that the National Weather Service made for Hurricane Sandy, and it followed that trajectory almost exactly, which is just amazing to me, the technology and the way they're able to forecast these storms. Right here you see Hurricane Sandy spinning off of the coastline of New York. It created huge storm surges as it pushed in that created messes just like this one that you see here. This ship was pushed inland. There was another boat right here. You can see it's nowhere near water, and so there were just tons of problems like that. You can see if we take a look at this satellite image over here off the coast of New York, there is another storm brewing. It probably won't be as big as Sandy was, but it could still pose a problem. Back home here in Logan, we are having a low pressure system developing to the north of us. That is going to sweep down into Logan about Thursday evening, and that could bring us some rain showers and some snow for the weekend. For our 5-day forecast, today we have a high of 64 and a low of 36, sunny and beautiful. We've got kind of the same for tomorrow, similar temperatures. We do develop storm clouds into the evening, and we should get some rain. But by Friday, things get a little bit crazy. That is not a typo. That is a definite 39 degrees. We are going to have to live with on Friday, and that comes with an 80% chance of snow. So pull out your boots, pull out your coats, it's coming. Same thing on Saturday. It does decrease to about a 60% chance of snow, which should be better for you non-snow lovers. And then Sunday, we have an even lesser chance of snow, but there still is that chance that exists, and we'll have a high of around 36 and a low of around 17. I'm Kelton Wells for your ATV weather, and we'll be right back with sports.
Hey Aggies, it's time for sports. Utah State was crowned WAC champions twice this weekend. First on Saturday, the volleyball team clinched a share of the title, and then on Sunday, it was soccer's turn. Up 1-0, the Aggies had plenty of chances in the half. Lauren Roundy here, the shot almost goes in, and then Jen Flynn with an opportunity. Here in the final seconds of the game, the Aggies with a shot on the empty net, and time expires. Utah State clinches an outright berth to the NCAA tournament, and the players are just overcome with excitement. The WAC trophy for the second consecutive year, and they are pretty excited about it. Coach Heather Cairns gets a celebratory ice bath.
Actually, as soon as we took that first NCAA trip last year, as soon as we ended it, our goal was to go to the NCAA again. We had never looked back from that. We always want to progress as a program and as a team, and so that was our goal for the year. And here we are, getting the chance again.
That was just awesome to be able to win that on our home field and with so many fans. The fans were incredible today.
And our offense went at it today, and we just really were looking for it. You know, we wanted it today. We wanted to win today.
The Aggies have a tough draw against BYU in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Utah State lost to the Cougars earlier in the season. Men's basketball is already smoking their competition as they finish their exhibition matches. The Aggies came out with energy and supporting crowd, and they played a foreign school. Romina Nadakovic takes us to the action.
Aggie fans were in good spirit as Utah State faced off against Simon Fraser. The Aggies worked together from the beginning to make a slam dunk against Fraser, and they kept doing it. The Aggies had no problem passing the ball around to make the shot. Preston Medlin was a team player and scored a game-high of 18 points, while Jared Shaw had 12 points and Keyshawn Reed had 11.
It was really good. We did a lot of good things, especially offensively. But we still have a long ways to go. We got to have a good week of practice and all the things like that, iron out all the details in our games and stuff like that.
After some dancing, it was halftime.
It's halftime and the Aggies are up 47-28. Let's see how the second period goes.
And the second period was good. The Aggies were offensive and beat Simon Fraser 92-56.
We did what we had to do. That's what I told the players. We did what we had to do. But it's time to move up in competition.
Romina Nadakovic, ATV News.
The Aggies' next game is this Saturday against Idaho State. It was a roller coaster weekend for Aggie hockey. The Skaters lost to the University of Utah for the first time in 10 years on Friday. But Saturday was a different story. In the second period, the Aggies up 2-1, pass from Jordan Kerr to Brian Gibbons, then a bullet to Cooper Lim, who one-times it into the goal. That would get the second period scoring going. From then on, it was all Utah State. Ty Johns to Brian Gibbons, who dekes past the defender and scores. And now on to the third period. One-timer from Gary Higgs, and it goes in. Here's a freshman, Ian Beckstrom. He scores to give the Aggies a 10-1 win.
We were just way more focused tonight. I mean, last night we had no jump, no energy, no one was focused, and tonight we just knew we had to come out and prove a point to everybody. So, I mean, it started from as soon as we got in the rink, the warm-ups to the final buzzer in the third period.
I think it's just a big team effort to come back and work hard and play hard. And I just knew we were going to do it, but it's good to see.
The Aggies are back on the ice against BYU Friday night. USU women's basketball had a rocky start last Friday against New Mexico Highlands. The game started off with the ball going straight to the Aggies, giving them a chance to score with a three-pointer. But into the second quarter, the game got harder. Fouls and defensive trouble gave New Mexico a chance to come back, but at the end of the game, the Aggies won.
Well, first half, I'd love to bottle that. The second half, we'll tear it up with tape and work on it tomorrow in practice, and a week from now, hopefully be a better team because of tonight.
It feels good actually, but I think we could do way better than we did. Like, our second half wasn't as much as we thought it was going to be, or as good as it should have been.
The next game for the women's basketball team is this November 12th in Orem. They are going up against the Utah Valley University. That's it for ATV Sports. We'll be right back with more ATV News.
Ropes, climbing, and crates. Katrina Warburton is outside to tell us what these three have in common. Katrina?
That's right. There was a biannual crate stacking competition here at USU, and crates were getting stacked, being climbed up, and being toppled over. Students gathered on Friday and signed up, put on shoes, a helmet, and strapped up to climb and stack crates for the biannual crate stacking competition.
So the goal is to stack as many crates as they possibly can. And so they have to work with their balance, and they have to grab the crates as they're stacking.
Keeping your balance, like when snapping the next crate on, it's really easy to like shift, and then once it gets pretty high up there, just like the slightest movement will like shift the whole crate.
The ORC sponsors this inside event with all of this gear, ironically to get more students outside.
I think it's a good
thing for the outdoor program to do on campus because it relates it to an outdoor sport, and so a lot of people can get outside and have this relation to it, and it's kind of a fun little Friday night thing you can do in the winter.
It's an individual competition for students, and the second semester they've been able to compete. Sponsored by Aggie Radio, Black Diamond, Camp Saver, and the Outdoor Recreation Program, who made the competition possible and safe for everyone.
Like with the campus, we have a lot of liability, and we want to keep students safe but have a lot of fun. So one way we've done it is we've netted out the area so that there's a restricted zone that people can go. If the crates fall, they could be a hazard, so they won't, the nets will also stop those, and then anyone inside the boundary during the event will be wearing a helmet.
That was the crowd cheering for Andy Taylor. He was the winner this semester who stacked 26 crates. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Katrina.
Well, that's all of us. That's all for all of us here at ATV News. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching.